Hello and welcome to Boring Conversations. I'm your host, Valerie King, multimedia editor with The Driller. Today, I am joined by Jeremy Baldwin. Thanks for being here, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me. It's pretty exciting.
My pleasure. Jeremy is president of Hawk Drilling Company, located in Ballston Spa, New York. A master groundwater contractor with a bachelor's degree in environmental geology, Jeremy specializes in drilling, geology, water systems, and geothermal. And that pretty much summarizes the services Hawk Drilling Company provides to residential and commercial customers in upstate New York. The fifth generation family business started back in 1927. So, Jeremy, can you provide an overview, if you will, of the company history, those 5 generations that have played a part in Hawk Drilling over the last near century?
Well, it started with my great-great-grandfather, and he was actually an oil well driller in Oklahoma. And that was right around, he was an oil well driller right around the time of the Depression. And then during the Depression, oil drilling dried right up, and he ended up coming to upstate New York as one of the CCC projects. And he drilled the pilings for the Conklinville Dam on the Sacandaga River, which is one of the largest tributaries to the Hudson River. So they put the dam in to control flooding. So he did that with a cable tool rig, and then he stayed in the area after the dam was completed to be able to drill water wells for people, because the water tables in the area is all sand and quite low, so they couldn't hand dig wells like they did traditionally then. So he stayed in along the Hudson, and my great grandfather was born, and he worked for him, and then my grandfather was actually born in Luzerne, and then they moved the business to Saratoga Springs. My grandfather actually left the business because he didn't want to do drill with cable tools anymore, and he started drilling with rotaries, and then he ended up buying my great grandfather out. And then in 1978, my father started working for the business. It's actually my mother's business, or family business. The Hawk is my mother's maiden name, and they took the business over. My father and my mother took the business over in '95, and then this last year, I bought the business from my parents, and this is where we are today.
Thanks for sharing that. That's such a neat story. And it's also kind of cool to hear how every generation tweaked it a bit to make it their own and make it fit their interests and probably the times, I'm sure, too. So, how would you say the business has evolved over the years? You kind of, hinted at different ways, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was very small. It was just a father and son kind of deal for a number of years, and my grandfather actually brought it into, he had 2 drill rigs, full crews. They had 1 pump crew, and 2 drill rigs and office staff. And now my parents brought it into where they grew it real big, and then after the recession, things got small again. And before I took over, we really brought it into more technology, getting involved with Facebook, Google, and trying to get out there. We kind of done away with phone book ads, and we're more in the more digital era to be able to meet the customer's needs, to be able to reach them.
For sure. So I very high level touched on the services you offer in the beginning, but can you elaborate on the kinds of services you offer and the customers you serve today?
Yeah, so we offer water well drilling. We do geothermal. We don't do it that much anymore. We do water treatment, pump installations, and pump service. And I also do fracture trace analysis for finding water in tough areas. Um, and most of our customers are residential. We do some commercial jobs, but we do a good job with our residential customers, and we kind of specialize in some of the tougher jobs where a lot of guys would shy away from it. We get the phone calls, and we try to treat everything as our own. So it's the customers, it's all almost word of mouth to call and deal with us.
And how big is your team?
So we run 2 pump crews, service and installation. We have a water treatment crew of 2 men, 1 drill crew of 2 men, And then we have, which is the backbone of everything, is our office staff. So we have people in the office all the time to answer phone calls, answer questions, and they're knowledgeable. My wife is a certified water well driller as well.
So now I'm curious, what kind of drilling equipment do you work with?
So we use air rotary. We do some mud rotary. A couple years back, we flirted with some reverse rotary, but it's primarily air and mud rotary that we do.
Okay. So we talked about the fact that, drilling is no stranger to your family. It is a 5 generation situation here. So is this an industry you always knew you wanted to join, or was it more of a winding path? Basically, what path did you take to get to where you are today?
When I was a kid, I was like, I want to be a driller. And then as I got in my early teenage years, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I was probably pretty lazy, like most younger people are. And then I was actually thrown into being a helper for my father when I was 16, and working with my father. I mean, the things I would watch him do, it just drove me to want to do more. And so I was his helper. I went to school for half a day, had no lunch, no study halls or anything like that. So I just did my classes, and then I would get out and work on the driller with him till 7 o'clock at night or whatever. And then I got really interested in geology, and so then I went to college, um, to be a geologist. And my parents told me that they wanted me to go to college, and it wasn't like I didn't really choose it, but then the opportunity worked out perfect for me. And then even when I was in college, I worked for a drilling contractor up in Plattsburgh, upstate New York.
Oh, that's nice. The practical experience just kept flowing.
Yep.
So back to today, in the role you play in the business now, what would you say a typical day entails for you?
I come in the morning, try to get here before the guys, go through, what was left on the desk from the night before. And I like to get the service crews going out the door. And I normally don't hit the drill rig until I don't sometimes leave till 9:30, 10 o'clock some days. But, and then we would generally work on the rig till 6 o'clock at night, and come back. I've been known to work by myself, but it's, but that's generally my day. And then I come home, and my wife and I go over all the other estimates that we have to do that came in during the day.
Busy, long days, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, it's a family affair though, so and my wife and I work together extremely well.
That's awesome. So, you just talked about education. I'm curious, years later, how does your education in environmental geology contribute to your everyday responsibilities? Like, what's your take on the value of that degree now that you're working in what you do?
I mean, it's really it's shown me that all the questions I had years ago, you would see things and you didn't really know what they were. So now it's actually I specialized in college in sedimentology and structural geology, and we do lots and lots of well screens. Our whole area is extremely diverse. 1 mile from our shop is one thing, another mile is another thing. You can get salt water if you go too deep. And actually, the things I learned in geology is taught me to how to read the ground, where we need to stop and maybe develop on something, surge on something, rather than drill deeper. Because it's not just drilling a hole in the ground. It's we're trying to find water for the customer, and it's really helped us to be able to see, drill shallower wells and have happier customers, to be able to get it done.
That's good to know. Kind of keeping with the topic of education, as a member of the American Groundwater Trust, National Groundwater, and Empire State Water Well Drillers Associations, I'm curious what your take is on the importance of belonging to such industry groups. What do you personally gain from that membership?
Just the fact of being involved is really the biggest thing. We know what's going on in the industry sometimes before it happens. If there's any legislation coming down the pike, we're on the board of directors for Empire State Water Well Drillers Association, and it's just nice to be able to know those things. And then with the all the associations, we have lots of opportunities for education, and for us and our guys, education is huge because it's just more knowledge to be able to go out every day. Every day you go out to be able to meet the customer's needs.
Very good. So you talked about water well being your main thing in terms of drilling, not so much geothermal anymore. But I'm curious if you favor water well or geothermal projects more and why.
I love water well projects because I like the trickiness of being able to get it done and getting water out of the ground. The geothermal projects are, you're drilling, you're just looking to get a hole in the ground to be able to get the loops in. And for me, I used to love doing geo, but this day and age, I'd rather drill a water well all day long.
So that said, what would you say your most memorable water well drilling project is and why?
I did a job for a client. I can't really divulge where it was, but we drilled a 1,860-foot water well with 120 feet of stainless steel 8-inch casing, and we didn't get any water, but it was really cool because we only run around with 500 foot of drill rod with 440 feet on our trucks. So for us to drill that deep was just way outside of the wheelhouse because we normally don't do that.
Very cool. And what about geothermal? Do you have a certain project geothermal drilling related that stands out in your mind?
We did when we did a 40 hole college. It was a 40 400-foot holes, 20 foot on center, and we had to mud in 120 to 140 feet of casing on every one, and we pulled all the casing. Went after on every hole. We only lost about 100 feet, but it was that job was crazy. It showed you how the ground gives up water. Where we had 20 foot on center, you have one well that made 200 gallons a minute, one well that made nothing. The next one made 10 gallons a minute, another one made 5, and then on the other side you get 300 gallons a minute, and you blow the top off the 200 gallon minute, and the middle holes wouldn't show any water. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
It sounds like it. A sizable project for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in all of this experience you've gained over the years, drilling and really just water systems in general, plus the business side, what would you say the key lessons you've learned have been?
Uh, be patient, and patience and attention to detail is what really keeps you going forward and doing a good job, and listen to your employees, listen to your customers. I can get, you can get a hard-headed thing going on in your head, and you can think there's only one way to do something, but maybe there's more than one way. And it's just being patient and listening. That's, I think, the biggest thing.
Thank you. And my last question, at a time when, fueling the next generation of drillers across the country, really around the world, is a big deal. What advice do you have for other drillers, or really honestly, prospective drillers looking to advance in the drilling industry and maybe even start their own business, which is the situation you're in today?
I'd say get involved. Be involved in, like I said, national American Groundwater Trust. Your local water well drilling association is a huge thing. Um, Education is key. The more education you have, the more you can learn. And really, I get a lot of knowledge from making friends with other water well drillers. It's and I think that's a big thing to, because they're your peers are the people that can really help you out in a time of need.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And that really is something I hear time and again from others in the industry is like mentorship, friendships, and just yeah, asking questions with other humans who do the same kind of work. But before we go, where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about Hawk Drilling Company?
They can find us on Facebook, and we have our website at www.hawkdrillingcompany.com.
Perfect. Listeners, for more drilling industry insights, visit our website, thedriller.com. You'll also find additional episodes of the show there or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Boring Conversations and hit follow. And if you haven't yet, please give us a quick review and rating. Until next time, this has been Boring Conversations. Thank you for listening.